it's Michelle, and I'm here to read you another book. This book is called Poppa's New Pants by Angela Shelf Medeiros, and it was illustrated by John Ward. I've had this book for a long time. This book was written by one of my mom's good friends, and that's how we got this book. So she even autographed it for us and everything. But it's about Poppa's new pants. Let's go. The house was in an uproar. Grandma Tiny had been tearing around all morning like a Texas tornado. Big Mama and Aunt Viney were coming for a visit. Grandma Tiny wanted everything and everyone to look nice when her mother and sister arrived. And Poppa and I had beaten so many rugs, washed so many windows, and moved around so much furniture that we sweated a bucket full. We're both glad when Grandma Tiny told us to hitch up old Buck and go to the store. "Howdy, Poppa. Howdy, George," said Mr. Owens, the storekeeper, when we arrived. "What can I do for y'all today?" "I got this list of things to get for Tiny," said Poppa. "Her mama and sister are coming up from Kansas City, and she's about to bust a gusset making sure everything's just right." Mr. Owens laughed as Poppa handed him the list. Poppa and I wandered around the store while Mr. Owens filled out our order. We were having a good time looking at the shiny new farm equipment when Poppa spied a pile of pants stacked on the table. Most of them were plain, black or brown, or corduroy. "Mighty poor pickings here," Poppa said, but when we reached the bottom of the pile, he let out a long whistle. "Whoo-woo! George," he said, holding up a pair for me to see. "What do you think about these?" Look at the pants. They were gray pants with red gambler's plaid pattern. The fabric was a velvety soft as old Buck's nose. "They look real nice, Poppa," I said, but they must have been made for a giant. They're way too long for you." Poppa held his pants against his waist. The fabric was too long. It draped onto the floor. "Well," said Poppa, "so they are, but I bet your Grandma Tiny could hem them before church in the morning." Poppa winked at me and added a long-legged pants to the pile of things we were buying for Grandma Tiny. I winked back and picked out the fastest peppermint stick I could find. Poppa took out his worn leather wallet, and he paid for everything. Big Mom and Aunt Viney had arrived by the time we got home, and they must have been mighty glad to see me because they snatched me from the wagon like I was a rag doll. Big Mama hugged me so hard that she squeezed the breath right out of my body. Then Aunt Viney and Big Mama took turns covering my face with red lipstick, almost drowning to see his sloppy wet kisses. "Come on in, y'all," Grandma Tiny said. "Supper's almost ready," and Grandma hustled Poppa inside so she could get the groceries put away, and I ran after them as fast as I could. There he is getting kisses. Poppa set down big bag of groceries and unwrapped his new pants. He proudly stretched them across the table for Grandma Tiny, Big Mama, and Aunt Viney to see. "A nice fabric," said Big Mama. "What a beautiful pattern," said Aunt Viney. "Yes, those are mighty pretty pants," said Grandma Tiny, "but they're way yonder too big for a teeny-incy little man like you, Poppa. Looky here, they're almost long enough to use as a tablecloth." "Well, honey," said Poppa, "well, I was hoping you could cut off about 6 inches and hem 'em tonight. so I could wear 'em to church tomorrow?" "Oh, honey," said Grandma Tiny, "I'm plumb worn out. I've been cooking and cleaning since sunrise, and as soon as supper's finished and Mama and Viney get settled in, I'm going to bed." "Okay," said Papa. He turned to Aunt Viney. "Do you think you could hem my pants for me, Viney?" "Brother-in-law, dear," Aunt Viney said, "I'd love to, I really would, but my eyes are troubling me from driving so much. I need to get some sleep." "I understand," Papa said. He looked hopefully at Big Mama and held up his new pants. "Sorry, son," said Big Mama. "I got arthritis in my knee joint so bad I can hardly move, but I'm looking forward to resting this evening." "That's all right, y'all," Papa said sadly. He put his new pants across the rocker to be mended. Then he went out on the back porch to wash up for supper. Grandma Tiny called everyone to dinner. She cooked everything from chicken to dressing to chocolate cake. The table looked like it was going to buckle in the middle. The supper was delicious, but we're all so tired and conversation was mighty poor. As soon as Papa was finished eating, he said goodnight all around and got ready for bed. Grandma Tiny and Big Mama and Aunt Viney usually had good long gossip spell when they get together, but this time the three women quietly finished their chores and turned around and turned in for the night. Big Mama and Aunt Viney had taken over my room, and Grandma Tiny made a pallet for me on the kitchen floor while I changed into my pajamas. I took my glasses off, put them on the kitchen side table. I kicked the covers around until I found a soft spot to snuggle into, and I could hear Papa snoring gently in the dark house, moaning softly as everyone settled down for the night. I wasn't used to sleeping in the kitchen. It was kind of spooky. The huge wooden china cabinet and big black wood-burning stove crouched in the corners, and Grandma, that grandfather clock, wheezed awake every hour and rang out time. And after a while, the moon crept into the room, making a big pool of bright light, a white light by the rocking chair. I jumped when a tree limb scraped against the window screen, and I was just drifting off to sleep when I spotted something out of the corner of my eye. A small, white shape was moving slowly in the kitchen, and I was scared at first. I forgot to breathe. I squeezed my eyes closed and pulled the covers over my head, and I told myself over and over that there was no such thing as ghosts, but I didn't believe it. I could hear whatever it was slowly coming closer and closer and closer. It must have brushed up against the rocking chair because the chair had creaked softly back and forth, back and forth. I held my breath until I thought I could burst. I heard a snip, 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 and a friendly rustling. Then all was quiet. There's that ghost. Ooh, he's under the covers. Let's see what it was. It was too quiet. And an hour after an hour that seemed like days, I pulled the covers off over my head, and I finally made my eyes open so I could peek over the edge of the quilt. The ghost thing was gone. I was tempted to go back to sleep on the floor, but Papa and Granny, by Papa and Granny Tiny, but I lay quietly. For a while I was mustering up my courage, but just then when I thought it was safe to make a run for it, I spied a tall, thin, ghostly white figure drifted into the room. I threw the covers back over my head. My heart was thumping like old bucks after a long, hard run, and I heard the rocking chair creak back and forth and back and forth. And then I heard a funny snip, 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 rustle, rustle sound. After a while, I was quiet again. I gave up the idea of going into Papa and Grandma Tiny's room. I kept the covers over my head and prayed for morning to come. I must have dozed off because when I opened my eyes, I couldn't figure out where I was. It was so hot. And I started to throw the quilt over my head. But then I remembered about the ghost. So I pulled the covers down inch by inch. I pried open my eyes slowly, looked around the room. A big white ghost was drifting through the door. And it was coming toward me. Ooh. There he is, sliding under the covers. I dove down in front of the pallet. And I curled into a ball, and I was shaking all over like a wet dog, and I felt something brush past me heavily. Then the rocking chair moaned loudly as it creaked back and forth and back and forth, and I heard that snip, 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 rustle, rustle sound, and all was quiet again. Well, my teeth were rattling so loud, I thought some of them were going to fall out. I stayed balled up under those blankets like an armadillo for the rest of the night. He's scared, huh? What do you think it is? George! George! The sound of Grandma Tiny's voice woke me the next morning as she whipped the covers over my head. Boy, why in the world are you sleeping under all those blankets as hot as it is? Before I could answer, she said, go get washed up. We need to hurry before we make it to church on time. Bright yellow sunlight filled the room, and it was morning, and I was still alive. I checked to make sure all of my limbs were in place. Everything was where it should be. I put on my glasses, and I stumbled sleepily through the door. Papa was already on the back porch shaving. I didn't want to say anything about last night. 3 ghosts in one evening? I never heard a story like that. Besides, maybe I was dreaming. The rocking chair and everything else in the room looked just like it always did. And I mumbled good morning to Papa and splashed cold water on my face. I just finished brushing my teeth when Grandma Tiny came out the porch. Papa, she said, hurry up and come inside. There's a surprise for you. As Papa went into the kitchen, I followed behind, wondering what all the fuss was about. Grandma Tiny, Big Mama, and Aunt Viney were gathered around the table. I said good morning and quickly sat down. I didn't want to give Big Mama and Aunt Viney a chance to hug and kiss the life out of me again. Besides, I'd had a hard time getting that red lipstick off my face. Grandma Tiny was smiling, fit to beat the band. She had Papa's new pants folded across her arm. Honey, said Grandma Tiny, I got to thinking about what a wonderful husband you are, and about how much you wanted to wear these pants. So I got up last night, cut off 6 inches, and hemmed them for you. Papa's smile lit up the room. Wow. Oh no, said Aunt Viney. I got to thinking what a sweet brother-in-law he was, so I got up last night and cut off 6 inches and hemmed him up too. Papa stopped smiling and looked at Aunt Viney. Well, sir, would you listen to this, said Big Mama. I couldn't rest for thinking about what a good son-in-law he was. So I got up last night and cut 6 inches off those pants and hemmed them up too. My mouth dropped open. So these were the ghosts that were haunting me last night? Papa grabbed his new pants from Grandma and held them up to his waist. The beautiful soft gray pants with the red gambler plaid gently unfolded to his knees. We all stared at what was left of Papa's new pants. Papa hung his head and clutched the pants to his chest. His thin shoulders started to shake. Then all of a sudden, Papa burst out laughing. Well, these pants aren't too long now, he said. Oh, wow. Look at that. He put them on and smiled at us, and then he danced around the room in the cut-off pants. He looked so funny we couldn't help laughing. And after a long while, he wheezed to a stop. Grandma Tiny hugged Papa around the waist. Honey, said Grandma Tiny gently, don't you worry about those old pants. Next time we go to the store, I'll pick you some of those pants that fit. Papa hugged her back. Come on, y'all, said Big Mama, looking at the clock. We'll miss Sunday school, but we can still make it to church. We scurried around, getting ready. We pulled up in front of Rock Hill Church just in time for the 11 o'clock service. Grandma Tiny, Aunt Viney, and Big Mama looked real pretty in their Sunday going to meeting hats. They rustled through the wooden doors of the sanctuary like walk-in flower gardens. Papa looked nice too, although he was wearing the same black pants he wears every Sunday, and I must say, I looked mighty sharp in my brand new gray knickers with the red gambler's plaid. The ghost had hemmed them too short for Papa, but they were just right for me. Look at that. The end.